Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever looked at a struggling teenager and just thought, man, where did things go wrong? Well, today we're diving into a profoundly powerful narrative about childhood development. We're looking at a story arc we call He Wasn't Born This Way. And we're going to examine exactly how our modern environments profoundly shape a child's nervous system. And honestly, it happens in ways we don't usually recognize until it feels like it's almost too late.
So here is the central mystery we're unpacking today. How does a child, born completely curious and connected to the world, become a teenager who is just so isolated and struggling? It's a heartbreaking reality for so many families, right? We see a baby full of life, and somehow, over the course of just a decade, that transforms into a hurting, disconnected teen. How does that actually happen?
Let's start at Section 1, a connected beginning. To really understand this, we need to track a developmental journey across 4 distinct stages. We're going to start as a newborn, move right into the toddler years, enter the school system in kindergarten, and then finally hit a really critical breaking point in middle school.
Okay, picture this. Our timeline starts in a hospital room. There's soft music playing, family is surrounding the mom and the new baby boy. You've got smiles, tears, just this overwhelming sense of hope. He entered the world connected, curious, and totally full of life. And get this, at this precise moment, a baby's brain is forming over 1 million new neural connections every single second. It is literally a biological marvel. He is a blank slate, perfectly primed for human interaction, warmth, and shared experiences.
Fast forward just a bit to the toddler years. Now, we've all seen this modern reality. You have exhausted parents working on laptops, taking calls, just moving at 1 million miles an hour, trying to keep the lights on and survive the day. Meanwhile, the child sits alone. Swipe, tap, swipe, tap, hour after hour on a screen. There's no eye contact. There's no back and forth conversation. There's no dynamic movement. It's just a glowing screen feeding this constant stream of high-intensity, artificial dopamine straight into a developing brain. Now, I want to be super clear here. It is so absolutely crucial that we view this without any judgment. No one meant harm. Everyone was just surviving. This early disconnection, it wasn't intentional neglect. It was simply a byproduct of our extremely demanding, fast-paced modern world. Look, when you're just trying to get dinner on the table and fire off that last work email, handing over a tablet feels like necessary survival for the whole house. Which brings us to Section 2, the body adapts. So let's talk about the science of nervous system adaptation. Basically, the nervous system literally adapts to the specific environment it grows in. Think about what that means for a kid who is suddenly dropped into a noisy, chaotic, 3-dimensional kindergarten classroom. The teacher calls his name, and he doesn't look up. His eyes dart around. His body slumps. He fidgets, he moves awkwardly. Listen, he isn't trying to be difficult. His nervous system adapted to a 2-dimensional, low-movement, high-stimulation screen environment. And now, it simply doesn't know how to function in a complex social setting. Now we hit grade school in Section 3. Symptoms become identity. Picture sitting in one of those school meetings. You've got parents, a teacher, maybe the principal, all sitting around this tiny table. The child sits there silently as these massive words just explode around his head. Attention problems, behavioral concerns, ADHD, anxiety, OD, sensory processing challenges. It is an absolute avalanche of labels. Later on, he's at the kitchen table struggling with homework, crumpling up the paper in total frustration, just crawling inward while inevitably his parents' frustration rises too. He feels this immense shame, but he can't explain why. And before anyone even realizes it, his symptoms have mistakenly become his entire identity. He actually begins to believe that he is the problem. Think about him at recess. All the other kids are out there laughing, playing sports, making friends, navigating the complex rules of some playground game, and he stands alone, just watching them from the edge of the blacktop. He desperately wants to join in. He didn't lack the desire to be a normal, playful kid. He lacked the foundational connection and the nervous system regulation required to actually do it. The tools to connect simply were never built into his biology. Moving on to Section 4, rebellion as relief. Okay, this phase changes absolutely everything about how we view teenage behavior. From the outside, what do adults see? We see rebellion, we see rule breaking, hanging out with a bad crowd, a kid choosing the wrong path. But the inside reality is vastly different. Because when someone offers him his first vape, or his first drink, or his first pill, suddenly he feels calm, he feels confident, he feels a sense of belonging. What looked like textbook rebellion to the rest of the world was actually his desperate, incredibly effective attempt to find relief. For the very first time in his life, his nervous system finally feels quiet. But, it's a trap. It's this dangerous cycle of a false solution. Step 1 brings that initial calm and confidence, this fleeting illusion that he's finally found the answer. But it so quickly morphs into step 2, which is a heavy reliance on drugs, excessive late-night gaming, and deep physical isolation. By the time he hits step 3, that confident feeling is completely gone. Now he's facing severe school decline, erratic mood swings, total numbness, withdrawal, and a terrifying physical need for more of whatever quiets the noise inside his head.
But here is where we pivot. Section 5, a hopeful shift. Because this story can change. Seriously, we do not have to accept that survival mode and isolation are just the inevitable outcomes of modern childhood. This story absolutely does not have to end in that dark place.
Let me ask you this. What if we stopped waiting until children were deeply struggling before we stepped in? What if, instead of waiting for that catastrophic middle school crisis or the avalanche of grade school labels, we actually learned to recognize the body's early warning signs in toddlers and kindergartners? Imagine the trajectory we could change if we address the root cause early on, rather than just managing the symptoms later. Which brings us to Section 6, the PROJECTbraincore solution. PROJECTbraincore is built on some absolute unshakable truths. Movement matters, connection matters, eye contact, play, nervous system regulation. These things genuinely matter to human development. We have this profound misconception in our society that children will simply outgrow disconnection as they get older. They don't. They adapt to it. So to fix it, we have to intentionally reintroduce these essential physical and emotional components back into their daily lives. We are essentially teaching their nervous systems how to feel safe again. So how do they actually do this? Well, PROJECTbraincore actively works to support the physical body as a primary intervention. Step 1 utilizes purposeful movement and play to get kids out of that static, slumped posture and re-engage their core muscles. Step 2 focuses on sensory integration, literally retraining the brain to properly process the physical world, so things like loud noises or bright lights aren't automatically perceived as threats. And Step 3 is the ultimate goal, achieving true nervous system regulation. Because when a child's nervous system is regulated, they finally feel safe, grounded, and present in their own body. And guys, this is the real promise of early intervention. Today's disconnected child, the one struggling at the kitchen table, the one watching alone from the edge of the playground, can absolutely become tomorrow's regulated, confident adult. The potential is already inside them. But that transformation requires us to choose to see them early, before the labels stick, and to equip them with the right body-based tools. Which brings us to our final thought today, and really the choice we all face. The Empowered Health Foundation sums it up perfectly. They say, we can keep waiting until children are diagnosed, medicated, isolated, or in crisis. Or we can strengthen the body that carries them before the struggle becomes their identity. PROJECTbraincore, helping children connect to their bodies, their confidence, and their future. www.empoweredhealthfoundation.org. So I'll leave you with this question. What will you do today to help the children in your life reconnect with the real world? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I'll see you next time.